Welcome back to the deep dive. Usually when we talk about the future of education, we're talking about AI tutors or virtual reality classroom.
Back the progressive stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe new ways to verify credentials. We expect a story about progress. But today we're looking at a story that feels like it was ripped straight out of a satirical novel about the business of education.
It really does.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a story that have everything. You've got robot dogs, political protests that go wrong in the funniest way possible, and sadly, some much darker elements involving student safety.
We're talking about what we're calling the Galgotia's paradox. And I want to start with a specific moment in time. February 2026, the AI Impact Summit at the Bharat Mandapam.
A huge event. This is where the heavy hitters come to show off the future of Indian technology.
Right. And amidst all the tech giants, Galgotia's University, which is a major private institution based in Uttar Pradesh, they unveil their masterpiece. They call it Orion.
The robotic dog.
A sleek, four-legged robotic dog. The cameras are flashing. The music is pumping. It is this big reveal.
And the claims accompanying this dog were just as big.
Oh, they were massive. Professor Neha Singh is representing the university on national television, DD News no less, and she's standing there beaming. She tells the reporter that this robot is the result of a 350 crore rupee in-house investment.
Let's just pause on that number for a second. 350 crore. That is roughly 42 million US dollars.
Which is...
That's a budget you'd expect from a mid-sized tech conglomerate's R&D department, not necessarily a single project at a private university.
She said it was developed by their centers of excellence. She even gave it a personality, calling the robot quite naughty. It was pitched as this heartwarming triumph of indigenous Indian innovation, a real Make in India success story.
Until people with actual eyes and technical knowledge started looking at the dog.
Right. So how long did this charade actually last? Did they get away with it for a week, a month?
Barely a few hours. Almost immediately, tech enthusiasts and experts at the summit started noticing things. You see, building a quadruped robot from scratch is incredibly difficult.
Yeah, I'd imagine.
It requires unique engineering in the joints, the sensor arrays, the gate stabilization.
So it has a fingerprint, essentially.
Exactly, and this robot had the exact fingerprint of a Unitree G2.
Okay, for those of us who aren't shopping for robot pets, what is a Unitree G2?
It's a very cool, but very standard, mass-produced robotic dog from China. It's a consumer product. You can go online right now, hop on a Chinese e-commerce site, and just buy one.
Okay, so just to clarify the economics here, they claimed they spent 350 crore rupees developing this. How much does a Unitree G2 actually cost?
Depending on the shipping and the specific model specs, maybe 2 to 3 lakh rupees.
That is, wow, that is a significant market.
To put it mildly. And the forensics on this were honestly embarrassing. The Unitree has a very distinct sensor array on its chin. It looks almost like a little goatee.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and the Galgotia's team had tried to cover up the branding, maybe put some stickers on it, but they couldn't hide the hardware architecture. It would be like me buying a Tesla, taping a Deep Dive Motors logo over the T, and claiming I invented the electric car.
And it wasn't just the dog, right? I was reading about a soccer game in the sources.
Yes, the drone soccer exhibit. They claimed that was an in-house project too. Turns out it was a Stryker V3 system imported from South Korea.
So the grand innovation strategy here was basically a shopping spree on Alibaba and a label maker.
Pretty much. And the consequences were swift. This wasn't just social media mocking them. The Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, MIghty, got involved.
Wow.
The secretary, S. Krishnan, was reportedly furious.
That is a big deal. You don't usually see the government intervening in a university trade show booth.
He explicitly stated that the government does not want to encourage plagiarism or misleading claims. He ordered them to vacate the stall immediately.
They pulled the plug?
They literally cut the power to the pavilion. By Wednesday afternoon, the future of innovation was packed up in boxes and shipped home.
That is absolutely brutal. But here's where I want to dig in. When you get caught red-handed like that, on national TV with government intervention, how do you spin it? What was the university's response?
It was a masterclass in what we call throwing someone under the bus.
Naturally.
The university issued a statement, essentially blaming Professor Singh. They said she was ill-informed and that her enthusiasm of being on camera led her to make factually incorrect statements.
Ah, the classic rogue employee defense. We didn't lie, she just got excited.
Precisely. They claimed there was no institutional intent to misrepresent. They pivoted the narrative, saying the robot was just a classroom in motion intended for students to experiment with.
Right, of course.
They even tried to flip the script, claiming the backlash was a propaganda campaign designed to hurt student morale.
Because it's not the deception that hurts morale, it's the people pointing out the deception.
Exactly.
But look, if this was just one incident, we might write it off as a publicity stunt gone wrong. But looking at the stack of sources you brought in, this seems to be a feature, not a bug.
That's why we're calling it the Galgotia's paradox. This robot dog incident is just the most visible example of a deeper institutional culture. It's built on what the sources call the architecture of the press release.
Which means what, exactly?
It's about prioritizing the optics of being world-class over the reality of it. And there is no better example of this than their patent filings.
I saw these numbers in the notes, and I genuinely thought it was a typo. Walk us through this.
It is staggering. Galgotia's University was established fairly recently in 2011. Between 2017 and 2024, a 7-year window, they filed 2,430 patents.
2,500 patents in 7 years. Just to play devil's advocate, isn't that a good thing? Doesn't that just mean they are incredibly productive?
It sounds miraculous.
Yeah.
Until you compare it to the gold standard. Let's look at IIT Madras. This is arguably India's premier engineering institute. They have some of the most brilliant minds in the country.
Right.
Since 1975, over the last 50 years, they have filed approximately 2,550 patents.
Wait, let me get this straight. A private university that's been around for barely a decade has almost matched the 50-year output of IIT Madras.
On paper, yes. But this is where we have to talk about gaming the system and vanity metric.
How does one game a patent? I thought you had to actually invent something.
You have to distinguish between a patent filed, a patent published, and a patent granted and commercialized. The sources suggest Galgotia is exploiting the filing metric.
Ah, I see.
They are flooding the patent office.
But why? What is the actual benefit to them?
Rankings. This is the currency of modern private education. Many ranking algorithms, like the QS stars, award points for research output volume. By flooding the zone with thousands of low-quality or minor utility design tweaks, they artificially inflate their innovation score.
So they're spamming the ranking algorithms.
In a way, yes. And it works to an extent. In the QS private university rankings, they sit at a very respectable 43rd place.
Okay, that's high.
But if you look at the government's own NIRF ranking, which is generally considered more rigorous regarding research quality and impact, they drop to the 151 to 200 band.
That is a massive discrepancy. It's like being an influencer who buys 1 million followers but gets 0 likes on their posts.
That is the perfect analogy. It creates the illusion of a research powerhouse to attract students and justify fees. But just like the robot dog, the substance doesn't quite match the shine.
Right.
It's a university functioning with the frantic, growth-at-all-costs energy of a tech startup trying to secure its next round of VC funding.
So we have the administration faking robots and gaming patents to look world-class on the outside. But I want to pivot to what's happening inside. If you're a student paying tuition there, are you getting that world-class experience? Or are you just a prop in this marketing machine?
Well, if the sources are anything to go by, prop might be the operative word. And this brings us to the Urban Maxwell incident.
I saw this all over social media. It was a meme for weeks. But for those who missed it, set the scene.
It's May 2024, general election season in India. The university mobilizes a large group of students to go to Delhi and protest against the Congress Party's manifesto. Specifically, they were protesting against inheritance tax and wealth redistribution policies.
Okay, political protests on campus are nothing new. Students are supposed to be politically active.
True, but usually student protests are organic. They stem from the students' own burning desire to change the world. In this case, reporters started interviewing these students on camera. And it became painfully, awkwardly clear that they had no idea what they were protesting against.
They didn't know why they were there.
One student was shouting about wanting a developed India, but admitted on camera that he hadn't actually read the manifesto he was opposing. He was just repeating keywords.
And then came the placard that broke the internet.
The Urban Maxwell moment. A student was holding a sign that was supposed to say, Urban Naxal, which is a politically charged term in India used to describe certain left-wing activists.
Right.
But the student was struggling to read his own sign. And on camera, confidently, he misread it as Urban Maxwell.
Like Glenn Maxwell, the Australian cricketer.
Or the coffee brand, who knows? The internet found it hilarious. But we need to look past the joke. This is actually a profound pedagogical failure.
How so?
Think about it. You are a university. Your job is to teach critical thinking, to teach literacy, Instead, you have mobilized your students to act as political foot soldiers for a cause they don't understand, holding signs they literally cannot read.
Wow.
They were treated as bodies to fill a frame, not minds to be cultivated.
That is a really depressing way to look at it. It's not just kids being dumb, it's the institution failing to prepare them.
Exactly. It highlights a total disconnect.
Yeah.
And that disconnect gets even weirder when you look at the faculty. This brings us to the intellectual schizophrenia of the university.
Schizophrenia is a strong word. What do you mean?
So on the streets, you have students mobilized for right-wing causes, opposing wealth redistribution, aligning with the ruling party. But then you look at the academic leadership. Take Ravikant Kisana, the dean of the School of Liberal Education.
Okay, what's his deal?
He is a prolific author and writes from a starkly left-wing, anti-caste perspective. In his book, Meet the Savarnas, he writes things like Savarna marriages are inherently narcissistic and calls Savarna movements inherently anti-democratic.
That seems diametrically opposed to the Urban Maxwell crowd.
It creates a massive ideological whiplash. You have the foot soldiers marching for the right and the leadership issuing indictments from the far left.
But is that a bad thing? Couldn't you argue that's just a diverse campus with different viewpoints?
In theory, yes.
Mhm.
A university should be a marketplace of ideas. But the sources suggest this isn't about dialogue. It's about polarization.
Yeah.
It feels less like a healthy debate and more like the university is trying to play both sides of the market.
I see.
They want the progressive academic cred of a dean like Kisana, but they also want the political favor that comes with mobilizing students for the ruling party.
It's branding again, trying to be everything to everyone.
Exactly.
You know, we can laugh about the robot dog, we can roll our eyes at the patent farming, we can even debate the politics of Urban Maxwell, but there is a part of this deep dive that shifts the tone completely. Because if the university treats students as props for protests, how does it treat them when they are in trouble?
This is where the story stops being a satire about PR and becomes a tragedy about safety. The clean aesthetic of the campus hides some very serious allegations.
The sources mentioned financial coercion during the pandemic. What happened there?
This was back in 2020, deep into the lockdown. Families were losing jobs, people were dying. Students alleged that Galgotia's university coerced them into paying fees for future academic sessions.
Future sessions, not just the current one.
Yes, and the leverage they used was the exams. Students claimed they were told they couldn't write their current exams unless they paid up for the next term.
That is predatory, using a student's academic progress as a hostage for future revenue.
The vice chancellor, Preeti Bajaj, declined to comment on record at the time. Later, the university dismissed these claims as auto-generated errors in the system.
Auto-generated errors, that is a very convenient computer glitch that just happens to maximize cash flow.
Right.
But money is one thing, physical safety is another. We need to talk about Udit Soni.
Yes. This is the darkest chapter in the sources. Udit Soni was a B.Tech student. In early 2024, he died after falling from a fourth-floor hostel building.
Now, initial reports usually frame these things as accidents or suicides. Was that the case here?
That was the initial narrative. But the family and his peers tell a very different, very horrific story. They allege brutality.
Brutality by whom? Other students?
No. The allegation is against the hostel staff and the warden, a man named Dharmveer. The claim is that Udit was physically assaulted, beaten, as a disciplinary measure for allegedly consuming alcohol.
Beaten?
The family alleges they used CPVC pipes.
That is, I don't even have words for that. A warden beating a student with a pipe.
That is the allegation. And what happened after the fall is just as disturbing. Reports emerged that the hostel management allegedly deleted CCTV footage from that morning.
What?
And Warden Dharmveer reportedly fled the hospital as soon as Udit was declared dead.
That sounds like a cover-up. I mean, if it was an accident, why flee? Why delete footage?
It fits a disturbing pattern. The sources mention another death in 2022. Yashraj, a student found in a drain near the university gate. In both cases, the administrative response was described as silence.
Silence.
A low-profile silence.
Right.
No big press conferences, no centers of excellence focused on student safety. The priority seems to be protecting the brand, keeping the world-class image intact.
It really is a paradox, isn't it? On one side, you have this hyper-visible, loud branding. Look at our robots, look at our patents, look at our protests. And on the other side, when a student dies, it's total silence.
It brings us back to the core mission of this deep dive. We are looking at an institution that claims a legacy back to 1933.
Which, as the notes say, was actually just a bookstore, right?
Exactly, a family bookstore. There's nothing wrong with bookstores, of course.
Yeah.
But they use that date to project gravitas, to sound like Oxford or Cambridge. In reality, Galgotia functions like a frantic startup. It trades on the shine of the brand.
So for you, the listener, who might not be applying to college but is navigating this world of hype, what is the takeaway here?
The lesson is to train yourself to look past the press release. We live in an economy of signals. 350 crore investment, 2,000 patents, global innovation. These are powerful signals. But you have to ask, is this metric a measure of quality? Or is it a measure of marketing budget?
All right. Just because something has a Center of Excellence sticker on it doesn't mean it wasn't bought off a shelf in Shenzhen.
Precisely. And more importantly, we have to look at how an institution or a company treats its people when the cameras aren't rolling. The Urban Maxwell moment shows a disregard for students' intellectual growth. The Sony case shows a potential disregard for their physical safety.
It's a warning against the facade of innovation.
It is. Genuine innovation is messy, it's slow, it often fails quietly in a lab for years before it works. It doesn't always look like a shiny robot dog on a stage.
Yeah.
And real education is about teaching students to read the manifesto before they protest, not just handing them a placard and pointing them toward a bus.
That is a powerful distinction. It really makes you wonder about the value of the degree at the end of the day. If the input is vanity metrics and political props, what is the output?
That's the big question. If we treat education as a transaction, where I pay fees and you give me a degree and a shiny campus, we lose the soul of it.
So here's the thought we want to leave you with today. If an educational institution prioritizes brand protection over the physical safety and academic honesty of students, is it actually an environment for learning? Or is it just a business selling the costume?
And if the innovation our students are exposed to is just something bought in a box and rebranded, what happens to the workforce of the future? Are we training innovators, or are we just training consumers of other people's technology?
That is definitely something to mull over the next time you see a viral headline about a breakthrough invention. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the Galgotia's paradox. We'll catch you next time.